Let's stop pretending. The West thought India would always be the back office of the world. Cheap labor, call centers, curry jokes. Well, guess what? That back office just turned into the corner office, and now it's running the building. They were warned. Time and time again they were told. But arrogance has a funny way of blinding people to reality. The signs were there, in the booming cities, in the restless youth, in the rise of a nation that refused to be chained by its past. While the West mocked, dismissed, and patronized, India quietly moved forward. Faster, sharper, stronger. And by the time the world opened its sleepy eyes, the game had already changed. This wasn't some miracle. It wasn't luck. It was grit. It was centuries of resilience forged through hardship. It was millions of young minds coding, creating, innovating while others scoffed. It was a civilization that had always known who it was, rooted in philosophy, driven by spirituality, and now armed with the most powerful weapon of all, ambition. And yet, the so-called great powers never believed it. They thought India would remain in the shadows, always catching up, always second best. But here's the bitter truth. They missed the warning. Every statistic, every shift in trade, every diplomatic move screamed that the balance of power was shifting. And still, they ignored it. Now the world has no choice but to watch. From technology to geopolitics, from markets to diplomacy, India is not playing the game anymore. It is setting the rules. The missed warning is now a lived reality. The very nations that once lectured are suddenly scrambling to shake hands. They thought they had time. They thought dominance was permanent. They thought wrong, because the world woke up too late. India isn't asking for a seat at the table anymore. It has already taken the chair, and everyone else is just trying to catch up. For centuries, they looked at India and saw only poverty, chaos, and division. They missed the real story, a civilization that had endured invasions, betrayals, and exploitation yet refused to vanish. While empires rose and fell, India stayed. It absorbed, it adapted, it endured. And now, that civilizational power is finally back in full view. This isn't just about GDP charts or tech startups. It's about something deeper. A nation with a memory that stretches thousands of years, a culture that produced philosophies long before the West discovered science, and a spiritual foundation that continues to shape how millions live and think. That kind of inheritance cannot be manufactured in boardrooms or bought with money. It's earned through centuries of survival and resilience. Look at the way India stands today, confident, unapologetic, no longer begging for approval. Its universities produce engineers and innovators that fuel the world's technology. Its entrepreneurs redefine markets. Its thinkers challenge old narratives. And behind it all is a civilizational strength, a deep, unshakable belief that identity matters, that values matter, that culture is not a relic but a weapon of influence. And while other nations scramble to stitch together fragile coalitions, India doesn't need validation. It draws power from within, from roots too deep to cut and traditions too strong to erase. That is why it commands respect now, not through intimidation, not through domination, but through the sheer force of existence. The truth is undeniable. This isn't just a rising nation. It's a civilizational force. And those who still underestimate it are making the same mistake their predecessors made. History doesn't whisper anymore. It shouts, and right now, it's shouting one fact loud and clear. India is not emerging. India has returned. They said it would never happen. They said India was too poor, too divided, too chaotic to ever rise beyond being a footnote in global power. And yet, look around you today. The so-called skeptics are eating their words, because India is not just rising, it is surging, and the pace is leaving the rest of the world gasping for breath. This modern surge is not built on borrowed strength. It's built on ambition, on sheer human will, and on a determination that refuses to take impossible as an answer. India's young population, hundreds of millions of educated, hungry, restless minds, are no longer waiting for the world's permission. They are coding the future, engineering the next breakthroughs, and leading the charge in medicine, space exploration, and digital economies. Silicon Valley isn't a foreign dream anymore. It's practically powered by Indian talent. But it's not just about brains. It's about belief. A nation once patronized as a developing backwater now speaks in the language of innovation and dominance. Its digital revolution is unprecedented. 1 billion people with smartphones, digital payment systems that outpace the West, and homegrown companies rewriting the rules of competition. This is not catching up. This is setting the pace. And look at its confidence on the world stage. Trade deals once dictated to India are now negotiated on India's terms. Global corporations once reluctant to invest now queue up at the door. Nations once dismissive now whisper cautiously, realizing that ignoring India isn't just foolish, it's dangerous. When India speaks today, it's not as a follower but as a leader. A nation charting its own path, defining its own destiny. This modern surge is the product of centuries of patience exploding into action. It's the roar of a country that has been underestimated for too long and has finally decided enough is enough. And while the West struggles with division and complacency, India surges forward with unity and purpose. The truth is clear, this is not a temporary upswing. It is a transformation. The world can either adapt to this new reality or be left behind. India doesn't wait anymore, it leads. And this surge, this unstoppable momentum, is only the beginning. The great tragedy of power is not losing it through defeat, but throwing it away through arrogance. That is exactly what has happened in the West. For decades, it bathed in self-congratulation, convinced that history had ended with its victory, that progress was its permanent birthright. Instead of hard work, it chose comfort. Instead of resilience, it chose indulgence. While it argued about culture wars and obsessed over trivialities, the rest of the world was quietly getting on with the business of building the future. Complacency is a disease, and the West caught it badly. Factories moved abroad, but nobody cared so long as the shelves were full. Education standards slipped, but everyone believed their prestige would hold forever. Debt piled up, divisions deepened, and yet the leaders smiled as though nothing was wrong. They forgot the basic truth of history: dominance is never gifted, it is earned and re-earned day after day. And while the West was busy gazing in the mirror, India was looking outward. While Western capitals drowned in bureaucracy, India embraced innovation. While Western leaders argued over symbolism, India focused on results. The imbalance is striking, one side busy clinging to its past, the other shaping the future with confidence. This complacency has left the West vulnerable, fragile, unsure of itself. And here lies the ultimate irony. The power it assumed was eternal is now slipping through its fingers. Not because someone stole it, but because it neglected it. The stage was left unattended, and another actor stepped forward. The audience has shifted its gaze, and no amount of nostalgia will bring it back. The West grew comfortable. India grew strong, and history punishes those who fall asleep at the wheel. The harsh truth is this: power does not wait for anyone. It doesn't care about excuses, nostalgia, or intentions. It moves. It flows toward those who are disciplined enough to claim it and merciless enough to hold it. For far too long, the world believed India would remain the eternal follower, the sidekick in a global story written by others. That illusion has now been shattered. India no longer plays a supporting role. It runs the stage. Look at the facts. 1 billion-strong population producing talent in science, technology, and business faster than the West can process. A digital revolution that has brought hundreds of millions online, not as passive consumers, but as active creators. A defense sector expanding while others shrink. A space program planting its flag where many superpowers failed. These are not the signs of a nation waiting for permission. They are the signs of a nation writing history on its own terms. And yet the West still clings to its arrogance, still believes that global dominance is its natural state. That is the harshest truth of all, the inability to see reality as it is. While they debate pronouns, India builds infrastructure. While they fight over statues, India lays foundations for megacities. While they drown in debt, India invests in innovation. And the contrast is blinding. The painful reality is that the balance has already tipped. The old world order isn't collapsing because it was attacked. It's collapsing because it rotted from within. The harsh truth for America, for Europe, for all who grew complacent is that the world has moved on. The applause is now elsewhere. The stage lights shine brighter on Delhi than on Washington. This is not sentiment. This is not speculation. It is fact. The center of gravity has shifted, and those who fail to accept it will soon wake up, irrelevant, their voices echoing in empty halls. The harsh truth is simple: India rose while others slept, and when the world finally opened its eyes, it was too late. The show had already begun, and India was already running it. So here we are, at the point where denial meets reality. The world can pretend, it can argue, it can cling to outdated illusions of superiority. But it cannot ignore the fact that India has already seized the moment. This isn't about tomorrow. It isn't about some distant future. It is about now. India has stepped into the role the West thought it would always own, and the world is finally waking up to it, too late. And here's the truth no one wants to say aloud: once a nation learns to command its destiny, it does not give it back. Power once claimed is never surrendered voluntarily. The dominance you see emerging from India today is not a phase, not a headline, not a fluke. It is the reshaping of the global order. It is the announcement that history's pen has changed hands. For decades, the West lectured, dictated, and patronized. And in that time, India built, it endured, it rose. Now, the tables have turned, and the applause, the influence, the center of gravity, they're no longer in Washington, London, or Brussels. They are in Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore. The sooner the world accepts that, the less painful the adjustment will be. The world woke up too late. India already runs the show. And the only question left is simple: will the rest of the world adapt, or will it be left behind, watching history move without them?